Mayor Tiffany Henyard's power unravels as Dalton faces political crisis. Once boasting an iron grip on the village of Dalton, Mayor Tiffany Henyard's reign is now under intense scrutiny as scandals, legal battles, and internal betrayals continue to mount. Her control, once seen as unshakable, is now collapsing under the weight of controversy and increasingly erratic decisions. Whether it's karma or a coordinated effort to remove her, what's clear is that Henyard's political foundation is crumbling. And fast, the latest signs of instability came during a Board of Trustees meeting that was abruptly canceled due to the absence of multiple members. In response, Henyard made sweeping decisions without trustee oversight, including the appointment of a new village administrator and attorney. These unilateral actions shocked many residents and were widely interpreted as an attempt to sidestep criticism and shore up her weakening authority. While some viewed these moves as bold, others saw them as reckless and undemocratic. The Illinois Attorney General's office condemned Henyard for repeatedly violating the Open Meetings Act during the summer and has launched an investigation into her administration. These violations only added fuel to the fire surrounding an already turbulent administration. Public criticism of Henyard has reached new heights, with residents accusing her of transforming Dalton into a high-security zone to avoid accountability. A particularly controversial moment came when Henyard used a sarcastic letter sent to her mother's home as justification for boosting security at Village Hall. This led to public meetings being held behind closed doors, a move many interpreted as prioritizing control over transparency. Attendance at public meetings has plummeted, with fewer than 20 residents showing up to recent sessions, signaling how far her support has fallen. Rather than stepping back and reassessing her leadership style, Henyard has doubled down on dramatic decisions that many say prioritize her political survival over the town's needs. The reinstatement of former confidant Keith Freeman to a key administrative role has only deepened concerns. Freeman, who previously served as Dalton's village administrator, is now facing serious legal issues, including allegations of bankruptcy fraud and retaliatory firings of staff who didn't support Henyard. His reappointment has been widely perceived as a defensive maneuver by Henyard to protect herself from escalating legal and political threats. However, the move backfired. Legal experts and community leaders quickly called it invalid. Trustee Chris Gonzalez pointed out that no formal documentation supported Freeman's appointment or dismissal, making any such administrative decisions illegal. This further weakened Henyard's authority and spotlighted the administration's growing dysfunction. Freeman, once a loyal lieutenant, is now reportedly cooperating with federal investigators. His potential testimony could be damaging to Henyard, leading some to believe her sudden desire to sever ties with him was driven by fear rather than dissatisfaction. However, the Board of Trustees blocked her attempt to remove him, leaving Henyard politically boxed in. The fallout between Henyard and Freeman, who once shared a close political alliance, has only intensified the turmoil within Dalton's leadership. Rather than shifting public attention away from her, Freeman's legal battles have redirected the spotlight back onto Henyard, raising more questions about the ethical integrity of her administration. Meanwhile, lawsuits continue to pile up. 3 former employees have filed wrongful termination suits against Henyard, adding to the administration's already extensive legal woes. These legal battles, along with Freeman's scandal, are painting a portrait of a government in freefall. Henyard's increasing isolation from her own inner circle has become glaring. Her latest moves to reorganize the administration are widely viewed as desperate efforts to replace dissenting voices with loyalists. Yet, the more she attempts to tighten her grip, the more her administration seems to unravel. Even her controversial decision to heighten security at Village Hall, allegedly due to the sarcastic letter incident, was seen by many as paranoid and manipulative. This move, combined with holding public meetings behind closed doors, has alienated many residents who now view her as out of touch with the community's needs, far from reassuring the public. Henyard's continued use of aggressive security and secrecy has worsened the trust deficit between her and Dalton citizens. Many who once believed in her vision for change are now disillusioned, watching what they hope would be a transformative administration descend into scandal and chaos. Adding to the public's growing frustration is Henyard's refusal to take responsibility or acknowledge the seriousness of the situation. Instead, she has accused critics of manufacturing drama and even claimed that certain community members are conspiring against her, a statement that only intensified concerns about her judgment as Freeman's legal troubles escalate and federal investigators dig deeper. Henyard's attempts to distance herself from him have come across as both hypocritical and too little, too late. Her credibility continues to take hits with every new revelation, whether it's about financial mismanagement, administrative failure, or the silencing of dissent despite efforts to replace Freeman with a more loyal figure. He has retained his position with backing from the Board of Trustees, signaling that Henyard no longer has full control even within her own government. Freeman's continued resistance underscores that he is no longer a pawn in Henyard's game, and may now be a significant threat to her political survival. What once looked like confident, assertive leadership is now seen by many as a panicked, self-preserving crusade to stay in power at all costs. Henyard's increasingly unilateral decisions, lack of transparency, and internal betrayals are no longer isolated incidents. They're part of a pattern of governance many say is corrosive to democracy, with mounting legal scrutiny, public outrage, and a shrinking circle of allies. Henyard's tenure may be nearing its end. Her administration's instability is no longer something that can be patched with new appointments or defiant public statements. The real question is no longer whether Tiffany Henyard can maintain control, but how long the people of Dalton will endure an administration plagued by dysfunction, scandal, and apparent disregard for accountability. The momentum for change is building, and the clock is ticking. Dalton stands at a crossroads. Its residents, once hopeful for progress and revitalization under Henyard's leadership, are now watching their village become a case study in political implosion. Whether the mayor can recover or be removed remains to be seen. But what's increasingly clear is that the community is ready to demand a new chapter. Mayor Tiffany Henyard's political empire teeters as legal. Political storms close in Mayor Tiffany Henyard's control over Dalton is steadily unraveling. Once hailed as a bold and transformative leader, Henyard now faces mounting criticism, legal scrutiny, and internal dissent. Her increasingly controversial decisions and growing isolation from village leadership have left many residents questioning whether she can survive the political storm, or if change in Dalton is inevitable. The latest flashpoint revolves around Keith Freeman, a former village administrator and longtime Henyard ally. His continued presence in her administration has fueled speculation that he holds damaging evidence related to alleged corruption, making him a central figure in the widening scandal. Freeman, now facing bankruptcy fraud allegations and claims of illegal reprisals against staff, is rumored to be cooperating with federal investigators. This has prompted many to believe that Henyard's urgency to remove him stems not from job performance concerns, but from fear what he might expose. 3 former employees have filed lawsuits against Henyard, accusing her of wrongful termination and fostering a retaliatory work culture. These legal challenges have only amplified the sense of dysfunction surrounding her administration. Reports suggest that Henyard attempted to quickly sideline Freeman to mitigate risk, but her efforts were blocked when the Board of Trustees reaffirmed their support for him. This public rebuke left Henyard unable to regain control of situations. Spiraling beyond her grasp. The power struggle between Henyard and Freeman came to a head at a recent meeting when the mayor attempted to replace key administrative positions without board approval, a move widely condemned as a blatant power grab. The board pushed back, calling her actions illegal and destabilizing. Despite Henyard's continued defiance, Freeman has managed to retain his post, with trustees largely backing his resistance to the mayor's unilateral decision-making. Freeman now finds himself in a uniquely advantageous position. As legal pressure mounts on both him and Henyard, his rumored cooperation with investigators places him at the center of the unfolding drama. Meanwhile, Henyard has not relented in her push to reassert full control. In a defiant move, she recently held a town meeting without the Board of Trustees, completely disregarding their authority. This mirrors previous accusations of her bypassing governance protocols and acting without checks or transparency. The potential consequences of Freeman's alleged cooperation are significant. If he indeed holds concrete evidence of Henyard's misconduct, his presence in the administration poses a direct threat to her already weakened leadership. Henyard's increasingly erratic behavior and refusal to accept accountability have created a political environment rife with mistrust and instability throughout her tenure. Henyard has faced repeated accusations of authoritarian leadership, retaliating against critics, and disregarding institutional norms. Those suing her say she fostered a toxic work environment where dissent was punished rather than addressed. As more evidence of internal dysfunction emerges, Freeman's role as a potential whistleblower further complicates matters and undermines Henyard's attempts to consolidate power despite her best efforts. Freeman remains a significant obstacle to Henyard authority. Her repeated attempts to remove him have not only failed, but have also drawn attention to the weakening structure of her administration. The speculation surrounding Freeman's cooperation with federal investigators has deepened suspicions about the mayor's motives and heightened public concern over the scope of her alleged misconduct. As the Henyard-Freeman conflict escalates, the mayor's hold on power appears increasingly tenuous. Legal battles, public backlash, and board resistance have converged into a political crisis that Henyard seems increasingly unable to contain. The possibility of federal investigation looms large, and Freeman's role, whether as a key witness or simply a figure resisting removal, has further chipped away at her authority. Public perception of Henyard continues to deteriorate. Her leadership, once seen as assertive and groundbreaking, is now widely viewed as paranoid and self-serving. At a recent meeting, instead of addressing the board's rejection of her appointments, she lashed out her critics, claiming she was the target of a calculated smear campaign. Portraying herself as a victim of propaganda, Henyard accused unnamed individuals of conspiring to destroy her reputation, but the community's patience appears to be wearing thin. During that same meeting, one bold resident stood up and, instead of asking a question, directly told the mayor that the door was open if she no longer wished to listen to constituents. The moment was tense and symbolic, a clear reflection of the growing frustration within the village. Henyard, however, appeared unmoved by the challenge. Brushing off criticism with defiance, she insisted that her actions had been misunderstood. Still, her combative stance has done little to calm the waters. With each passing controversy, the image of Henyard as a strong leader is being replaced by that of a mayor clinging desperately to power. Her rapid rise once made her a formidable political figure, but a combination of questionable decisions, unchecked authority, and mounting lawsuits has chipped away at her credibility. The resistance from Freeman, compounded by the board's refusal to support her unilateral governance, has made her leadership appear more fragile than ever. The administration's problems are no longer contained within village limits. As federal scrutiny increases and local legal battles pile up, Henyard is contending with both internal and external forces that threaten to bring her administration to a halt. Even if Freeman doesn't have the smoking gun, his continued presence and refusal to be removed has already damaged Henyard's political standing beyond repair in the eyes of many. At a recent public event, she again doubled down, responding to growing dissent with more accusations of conspiracy and misrepresentation. Her defensive posture has done little to ease the community's concerns, and the atmosphere around her administration remains tense and distrustful. Ultimately, the standoff between Freeman and Henyard is more than just a clash of personalities. It represents a broader collapse of governance in Dalton. As legal, political, and community pressure builds, the mayor's ability to maintain control grows more doubtful by the day. The very tactics she once used to dominate local politics, centralizing power, silencing opposition, and surrounding herself with loyalists, are now contributing to her downfall. The question is no longer whether Tiffany Henyard's administration is in crisis. It is. The real uncertainty lies in how long she can continue to fend off growing opposition from residents, officials, and investigators before the weight of it all forces a change in leadership. Whether Freeman plays a direct role in her political demise or simply continues to resist her efforts, his presence has already shifted Dalton's power dynamics in a significant way. With each public clash, court filing, and board rejection, the writing on the wall becomes clearer. Mayor Tiffany Henyard's grip on Dalton may soon be lost entirely. Mayor Tiffany Henyard's administration teeters under scandal, financial controversy, and mounting legal pressure. Mayor Tiffany Henyard's grip on power in Dalton is slipping, and with every public statement, she seems more disconnected from the very community she was elected to serve. In response to growing criticism, Henyard recently remarked, "Because I'm so unique and different, everyone has problems with me, but I'm doing what's best for town." While intended to project strength, the statement only amplified the deepening divide between the mayor and her constituents, as her behavior becomes increasingly erratic and defiant. Tensions between Henyard and the Board of Trustees, as well as with former allies like Keith Freeman, have continued to escalate. At the center of the controversy lies a series of troubling allegations, including suspected misappropriation of public funds. Most notably, Henyard is accused of spending a staggering $67,000 on travel expenses for herself and her entourage in just 5 months. When additional taxpayer-funded fees are factored in, the total soars to over $100,000, raising serious ethical questions and prompting outrage among Dalton residents. The extravagant spending has led many to question whether Henyard is engaging in financial recklessness, or she is deliberately using public funds to curry favor and solidify her political control. Instead of addressing the concerns transparently, Henyard took the controversial step of hiring a high-profile criminal defense attorney to represent the town. The move, seen by critics as a self-serving effort to shield herself from legal fallout, is reportedly being funded by taxpayers. Further fueling public frustration rather than respond to the allegations with accountability, Henyard has attempted to deflect blame, dismissing the criticism as politically motivated attacks. Her pattern of diversion and refusal to answer to mounting concerns has only intensified the backlash. Investigations are now underway, with Keith Freeman, who once stood firmly in Henyard's inner circle, suspected of cooperating with federal authorities. As scrutiny deepens, the mayor finds herself increasingly isolated, facing mounting pressure from both within and outside her administration. Despite Henyard's repeated insistence that she's being unfairly targeted, the scale and severity of the allegations paint a different picture. Her leadership is marked by combative decision-making, questionable spending, and a perceived disregard for ethical governance. The rift between Henyard and the Board of Trustees continues to widen, while public dissatisfaction continues to grow even as she maintains that her administration has brought progress, claiming, "We cleaned up the village when we took over." Residents remain skeptical. For many, Henyard's tenure has become synonymous with controversy and dysfunction. The lawsuits, investigations, and ongoing disputes with local officials overshadow any achievements. She claims allegations of unethical governance continue to mount. Henyard is accused of retaliating against employees, favoring specific businesses, and misusing her authority for personal and political gain. One small business owner, a local barber, alleges his license was revoked without explanation, reinforcing fears that Henyard's administration uses power punitively. In one particularly troubling case, Dwayne Thrash, a former maintenance manager, came forward with claims that Henyard's allies pressured him to participate in a scheme to replace the local school board's attorney with a politically aligned alternative. When Thrash refused, he was abruptly fired, an act widely viewed as retaliation and part of a larger pattern of political intimidation. Henyard's support base has also begun to fracture. A significant blow came when Thornan Township trustee Carmen Cho, once a vocal ally, publicly denounced the mayor's behavior. Cho accused Henyard of acting in a predatory and unethical manner over the past 2 years, claiming the mayor had used residents, merchants, and staff as tools to expand her influence while promoting a false image of success funded by taxpayer dollars. "I believe there are many more victims who have been retaliated against but haven't spoken out yet," Cho said, describing her decision to speak up as an act of conscience. Her remarks reflect a growing sentiment among both former supporters and community members who say Henyard's leadership is no longer tenable. These revelations only compound the legal and ethical challenges Henyard is facing. Accusations of fraud, mismanagement, and the misuse of public funds are no longer limited to whispers. They're the subject of multiple lawsuits and federal investigations. As the evidence mounts, so too does speculation that criminal charges may be on the horizon. Rather than pivot toward transparency and reform, Henyard has chosen to double down, frequently asserting that she is the target of a grand conspiracy. At recent public meetings, instead of engaging with community concerns, she accused critics of trying to sabotage her name and reputation. Her defensiveness, once seen by some as assertiveness, now comes across as desperation. In one notable meeting, a resident stood up during the public comment period and directly told the mayor that the door is open if she wasn't willing to listen to the concerns of Dalton citizens. The moment, met with tension, was emblematic of the community's growing impatience with Henyard's leadership. Despite the mounting pressure, Henyard has continued to act unilaterally, sidelining the Board of Trustees, appointing key figures without approval, and surrounding herself with loyalists. These moves, critics argue, are attempts to consolidate power and silence opposition. Yet they've only made her administration appear more unstable and disconnected from the democratic processes she is supposed to uphold. The legal representation she secured, at taxpayer expense, has become a lightning rod for criticism. Many residents see it as a final insult. Public money being used not for community betterment, but to defend the mayor's personal decisions and shield her from legal consequences, with Freeman reportedly cooperating with federal investigators and the Board of Trustees increasingly defiant. Henyard's once commanding authority has been reduced to a fragile hold on power. Her leadership is no longer seen as strong, but rather autocratic and embattled. The once ironclad support she enjoyed is now riddled with cracks, as former allies turn against her and legal challenges mount, as lawsuits from former employees continue to pile up and investigations probe deeper into alleged financial misconduct. Many in Dalton are bracing for a political reckoning. Even those who once stood by Henyard are beginning to question how much longer she can remain in office under such weighty allegations. Some are already predicting her imminent downfall, comparing the situation to a train wreck in slow motion. The convergence of internal rebellion, community frustration, and potential federal charges has created a perfect storm. While Henyard continues to proclaim her innocence and deflect blame, the facts and the mounting opposition tell a different story. Dalton's political landscape appears poised for a dramatic shift. With federal investigations underway and public confidence at a breaking point, Henyard's days as mayor may be numbered. Her administration, once hailed for its promise of change, now stands as a cautionary tale of unchecked power, political retaliation, and the dangers of operating above accountability. Whether Tiffany Henyard can survive the legal and political battles ahead remains to be seen. But the growing unrest, the lawsuits, and the steady erosion of her support suggest that Dalton may soon be turning the page on one of the most turbulent chapters in its history.